Hello and good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Super Conscious Leaders May full moon ritual here on this gorgeous, gorgeous eclipse day. Thank you all for your patience. I needed a nap today after the sand dunes. Mm, we took the family out to the sand dunes near the Bonneville Salt Flats, which is like an hour west of my house. And it was the first full family camping trip. We were supposed to go with a friend who wasn't able to make it. And he was going to be like the person caravan, like taking all of our stuff in his minivan. And we were just going to have the family and the dogs in the car. And we ended up doing all six of us, dog, three kids, two adults, and all of our stuff for the night in my Jeep Liberty. Thank God my husband is a Tetris master. And we went out there, we set up camp, we had s'mores, we had a good time, went to bed at probably like 12:30 at night, and then woke up at 4:30 for the eclipse. It was beautiful. There was like no light pollution at all, and just in time for totality was when we finally all saw it, and then a cloud like shifted in right then, and then we all climbed back into bed, and it was great. It was such a beautiful night, and it was one of those times where you're able to really sit with it and be like, okay, well, what am I doing tonight? Right? What are you doing on the full moons and on the new moons are often exactly what it is that you need to be working on within that energy, right? Sometimes we're so pushy and we're just like, oh, this is what I need to do, or let me look up this, or let me just like immerse myself by like it taking in all this content and all this content and all this content and reading all the posts from other people instead of just coming and realizing, okay, well, what am I doing today? Did I have any hard conversations in the last couple of days? Were there any things that were brought to light in the last few days? Is there anything going on that really is happening right now? Because that is actually when you trust that you are divinity incarnate, when you trust that you are exactly where you're always supposed to be at the right place at the right time, then you don't need to go really searching for the work that needs to be done. The work that needs to be done is already being presented to you. It's, are you super conscious enough to recognize that? Are you in the game enough? Are you playing with the interdependent web of life enough that you can see that you don't need to go looking for the pieces that are ready to be let go, for the pieces that need to be reflected on the places where you get to have more fun or more pleasure, because you're already in it, right? So we're going to talk about that a little bit, discuss that. We're going to do a beautiful reflection exercise. So make sure you have a mirror. You can do it with a hand mirror or a full length mirror. I have my full length mirror here, so I'm just going to like shift the camera. We're also going to need a pen or two pens because I'm going to kind of review the two pen channeling method also during this reflection exercise ritual. So we'll two pens, different colors, and a notebook, your journal, whatever notebook works for you. And then, as always, you want to have a way to create a sacred space for yourself during this time. So, I'm just going to go and make sure that I'm seeing comments. If you would be so kind as to leave a comment so I can see if it's popping up on just my regular feed or if I'm going to have to open up a another browser with it. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, I'm not seeing any comments, so I'm just going to pull up another browser really quick. If you would please comment just so that I can see um, if I can see the comments. Just anyone, like a hi, anything at all. Just let me know. So, okay, so we're going to, okay, lighter sage, the way that we usually open our space. So let's go ahead and open our space right now. Rubbing our hands together, reach up and clap, and pulling that in through your chakra channels, resting your hands on your heart. We're going to take 3 deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more in. And exhale. Ooh. Ooh. I even took a nap. Okay. Now go ahead and light our candle. Here we go. Lighting this with the intention of being able to easily tap into this energy of the lunar eclipse to truly allow for any shifts or changes that need to occur to be done in totality, to allow the subconscious mind and the shadows to be illuminated of what's ready to be let go, and to remember that we do all of these rituals, we come together in this community because it's pleasurable, because it's fun, because it's something that allows us to connect to old ancient wisdom deep within our DNA, and to do so in a way that allows us to really feel that we're in a place of reverence without being so serious all the time. Then taking our incense, sage, Palo Santo, whatever you have. If you don't have sage, incense, or Palo Santo, you can just use your finger for this part. And going ahead and creating a figure 8 motion, weaving together time and space, weaving together all of the polarities into the singularity, creating a sacred container where instant healing and manifestation can exist. Perfect. Now this incense is always tricky for me to get back in, so while I'm doing that, I did it. So this full moon that we had an eclipse this morning, and we want to remember with our eclipses that the journey and your healing journey, when you have really started to your daily maintenance on your spiritual growth, you're working through the traumas, you're doing the ancestral healing, the wound clearing, the inner child healing, all of the healing, right? You reach a is actually, or clearing up your own life is actually pretty easy. For the most part, you're already doing that on a regular basis. So when big energies come in, there's not usually like a surprise that hits you. You might have like an uncomfortable conversation. Perhaps there was something comes to light that you weren't expecting. You thought that it had resolution A, but you find out that, right around the full moon that B is actually happening. But again, you have your own tools. You're working through that on a regular enough basis that the full moons and new moons don't actually like hit you the same way personally. Now, because nature abhors a vacuum, all this space that you've now opened up because you're in regular daily communion with your spiritual growth and all of these things, instead, Source, Gaia, whomever sees this opening in your field of, oh, he's not dealing with this personal bullshit anymore. They have room in their system to run some collective stuff. Okay. So what I mean by that is that there has been a lot of collective shadows that have been coming through to light, especially when it comes to sacred rage of the divine feminine and the hypocrisy of the masculine. What I mean by that is there's a lot of men out there who were raised in male dominated societies and cultures who might personally not believe things they don't think they do. They think they're open. They think they're very, woke. And then something in their personal life occurs and they're like, well, that's okay for them, but not for me. Right? Like that's acceptable for them, but not in my own personal life. It's okay for everyone else to be that way, but the people in my sphere that are connected right next to me, it's not okay for them. Right? And they start to go through like cognitive dissonance of, wait a second. Oh, yes. Thank you, Stephanie, so much. I can see your comment. um, and these men, it's usually men, right? It can also be women when we run into our inner patriarchy. Last year around Father's Day, I did a whole live stream on the inner patriarchy. I'm probably going to be talking about it again soon because Father's Day is coming up here in America. But we have these beliefs because we have been in a patriarchal system that even the most conscious men and the beautiful divine masculines that we have in this sphere and that we're raising our children with and that are our brothers and our friends, they are running into during this eclipse a lot of global, just like, wait, hold on. Me that has this um, male dominated patriarchal alpha beta sort of vibe, or is this something that was programmed into me? Right. And luckily, the conscious men out there are also the ones that have the tools and they're able to work on it. But if your experience as a female or, you're normally are. It's because they've done their inner work enough that they're being allowed, they have the space to run global consciousness. This isn't something that a lot of women are like, women, we're used to it, right? We're used to processing the rage of the whole collective. We're used to processing the mourning of the whole collective. We're already more connected that way. It has been more of the feminine circles, right? The moon circles, the women's sacred sisterhoods, it's time for us to really start bringing in our brothers, right? Really starting to link arms, to no longer be angry at the men, to no longer project onto the men in our lives that allowed to grow. If you've been doing your own healing journey for years and years and years, and you've had a partner alongside of you, or you've had a friend alongside of you, and you're still only seeing them as like the years ago, but you're like, no, I'm a big tall acorn, I'm a big tall oak tree, like I was an acorn with you, but we've grown apart. There's a lot of projection going on. You have to, if you're allowing your own growth, then it means that you need to allow other people to grow too, right? So not only just letting go of your own shit, but allowing people to change, allowing people to grow, allowing especially the men in your life to show up differently for you. And if you think that they're harumphing or being in old patterns, remember, honey, it's a reflection, right? It's reflecting back to you. That's why we're doing a reflection exercise, right? It's just reflecting your own inner insecurities, maybe bringing back up old traumas again. Maybe you've been with this partner for a really long time. So when they do things like sigh deeply or want to go and just like have a smoke in the back by themselves and they don't invite you, you start to revert back to 10 years ago when them doing that one thing meant something very specific, right? But it could just be that that's part of their process, right? You have your own process, you got to come sit in front of your mirror, right? So this is something that has been coming up for a lot of my clients. The women are experiencing a lot of sacred rage. It's been happening all year, pretty much, ladies. Remember, we did swapping a few months ago, right? A lot of sacred rage, a lot of just like the hurt is kind of over and now it's the pissed off like woo rise of the feminine, and we're clearing that out in a collective way, and then in our own personal lives like we're moving on to the more nurturing mother, right? We're going into that divine mother who nurtures new earth, and in that role we also need to nurture our men. We need to nurture those who have been providing for us. Many of us wouldn't have the opportunity to do the healing we've had to do if there weren't some man in our life, even if it's not your partner, some masculine entity that really held the space for you, whether it was helping you financially, helping you with your kids, just being that shoulder to cry on and listen to you when you were needing it. Almost every person I've met on this healing journey that I've also been on has had at least one male, divine masculine figure, and then also one divine feminine figure while they're, they kind of become our divine parents a little bit while we're navigating and becoming sovereign and like stepping into our stuff, right? Hi, Chase. So on a collective level, when we're really connected, right? We're doing our own shit, right? This is what I want us to really work on today. Is owning the fact that we're good, right? We're super conscious leaders. We have shit come up in our lives and we know how to process it. We know what's going on. We might get blindsided, but we're able to chuckle it off and have a good laugh and just be like, damn, my higher self is a great writer in Hollywood. Should totally hire her, right? But then a full moon, especially an eclipse, comes up, and all of a sudden all this old shit comes up, right? We're getting into fights with our partners. We're dealing with old patterns. We're witnessing parts of ourselves that we're like, the fuck? I thought I dealt with you already. And that's when we need to own, oh wait, I have ascended so far above my original bullshit that I'm being used as a conduit for processing the global unconscious and processing the global shadows and processing the global rage and the global grief and the global all of it, right? And that's, you can usually actually tell that you're doing it in a body way. Personally, a lot of this stuff will show up on your left side, right? If you're dealing with your own personal shit, any any ascension symptoms that are going on will actually usually affect your left side, or it'll affect your stomach, right? You get left side up all in here that starts really hurting, or you start getting a headache, but it's on the left side, right? When you're dealing with global collective things, it usually actually manifests on the right side because this is the patriarchy side. This is the right side. So this is just a little trick as someone who is very somato and processes a lot. What I've noticed and what I've also noticed in my clients, right? When it's stuff that's personal, it'll manifest on the left side of our bodies. And if it's something that's more collectively global, it'll manifest on the right side of our bodies. So that's another, like, right, a little insider trick. Um, or again, if it's something that you're like, no, I have dealt with this before. Why is this showing back up? And you run it through your system, you can just ask it, like, are you mine? Or are you just manifesting through this personal experience so that I can help move collective consciousness, right? This is what it means to be a super conscious leader. You are on the leading edge. You're getting to get these informations before other people do. It's the reason why a lot of us were super sick in the winter of 2019 before everyone else was sick in the spring of 2020, right? So it's just being on that leading edge. You're high enough up in the ascension. You're not in the goo anymore. You're not like stuck in the collective shit anymore. And as you do that, you are able to, you're working through your own personal stuff already, that you're able to then, like, oh, Gaia and source and your angels and everything are like, oh man, they're fucking solid. So let's give them this. And you're running in the background, which is why I also teach you how to um set the intention, which we'll do again today, of anything that you are running for the global collective. The only things that become consciously aware to you are the things that you need for your own personal growth as well, right? So you can be running all sorts of stuff in the background, right? Maybe that's why you have the sore shoulder or whatever. But when you're starting to ask the pain and you're not really getting an answer, it's because you're running something, but knowing the why behind it doesn't actually matter. And you're just being asked to be a conduit, right? And that's okay. And you can always ask not to be, but just realize that there's a reason why it's happening. So there we go. And yes, I'm drinking red wine. It was a blood moon. So this Eclipse is also about, reflection and letting go, but it's also about pleasure. So if you've been in a space since the new moon where you set some intentions and they're like working out for you, even if they were crazy intentions, like you didn't actually expect for the thing to come true, you were kind of just like, I mean, it would be cool to experience that. And in the last 2 weeks, you have actually experienced it. Realize that that is your higher self saying, yeah, that's the path you need to be on. But it could have also brought up repercussions, right? Especially if it was something that you didn't think was really going to happen, where you're like, oh, okay, I need to own that I wanted this, that I wanted it so badly that spirit presented it to me this quickly. And now who am I? Right? As a person who does this thing on a regular basis or who received this manifestation, what do I need to let go of my old identity? Do you need to let go of more codependency? Do you need to step into more of your sovereignty? Do you need to just be able to speak your truth and be able to still hold compassionate conversation and have listening ear for those in your life that might not get why you're shifting this way, right? We grow and then those around us grow. And then we grow again, we're leaders. So the people in our sphere, it's not that they're behind, but sometimes they do need to catch up, right? Especially when you're hanging out with the dragons. I know Chase knows exactly what I mean. A lot of you guys in here know what I mean. When it comes to this vortex of ascension, the people in your life can kind of get whiplash for with how fast you're up leveling, right? And you just need to, they just need to, you need to be compassionate, right? It's not that they're slow or anything. It's that you're so fast, like hold it, just hold it. Yeah, this is the vibe that I'm in now. I am someone who does this thing, right? I am someone who goes skydiving and loves it, right? But that means that I'm also no longer a person that's afraid of heights. To be able to love going skydiving, I had to release my fear of heights, right? Who I was totally terrified of heights is not who I am skydiving. Yeah. So it's that balance thing, but really being more conscious of it, right? If you have people in your life that are like, I don't like that you go skydiving, it fucking freaks me out, then you need to still own it. Like that's their feelings, right? Just realize that that's their feelings. Your job is not to fix their feelings. They are allowed to be freaked out that you like to go skydiving. They are allowed to be jealous of the fact that you have to go time to go skydiving or anything like that, right? But you get to just hold it, right? I hear you. I hear that when I go skydiving, it really freaks you out. Is there anything that I can do to help soothe your fears about me going skydiving? And if they're like, no, there's really nothing, like the only thing that you could do is just not go skydive. Well, that's not an option, right? Because this is my sovereign life and I fucking love skydiving. It's fucking great. I have so much fun. I'm a fucking dragon flying, right? So then it's okay, well, I love you. I'm really here for you. I appreciate you. You give them the words of encouragement. And it's not just when you're leaving to go skydiving, it's all the time. You're showing up in your life, you're showing up for your family. But when it's time for you to go skydiving, you're not letting their fears stop you from going, right? And I know that I'm using like a weird analogy with skydiving, but you can use it with anything in your life, right? Maybe they don't like the church you're going to. They don't like the people that you're hanging out with, right? They don't like that you have business trip. Whatever it is, it's that's their shit. And it's not your job to fix their shit. It's not your job to judge their shit. It's not your job to be like, "Oh, well this isn't working." Right? It might be. It might be eventually you just like can't hang out with people that don't appreciate the fact that you love going skydiving. But could it also be, and that's where a lot of people are, they're like, boundary cut off. I'm just gonna cut you, cut, 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 cut. Instead of what a mother would do, right? The divine feminine would actually then hold, right? She'd just be like, well, this is my vibe. And I love skydiving. And you can either continue to love me as I love skydiving, and then maybe after that I do parasailing, and then maybe after that I'm doing wakeboarding, and then maybe after that I'm going scuba diving, which is way more fucking dangerous than skydiving, by the way. I know that Chase knows that, right? You become the person that you want to be because you're following your soul's path, and the people around you, it's not that you have to cut them off. The people around you are either going to rise up to meet you or they're just going to fall away, right? And every once in a while, yes, it's going to have to look like a hard boundary, like deleting the text messages, blocking the phone number, unfollowing the social media, right? But that's actually going to be like really, really rare that you have to go to that extreme. And it's usually going to be someone that you know in the future you're going to eventually unblock, but right now you just need to set that solid boundary for yourself, right? So it's not, at least that's how it is for me, right? I don't need to block people for forever, but the blocking is usually for me, right? It's the way that I set my boundary for me to not reach out. It really actually has a lot less about them reaching out to me and a whole lot more about like, no, you set the conscious, like you blocked them, you did this, you did that, like do not fucking reach out until you know that you're ready for it. But that's super rare, right? I've blocked one person in probably the last like 5 years, to be honest. Like, yeah, like 2013, 2016 was probably the last time I blocked anybody, right? You know what? She's gone skydiving enough times that like obviously this isn't going to change and I really can't control him and or her or them and I really love being with them and so I'm going to just learn to be okay with them skydiving, right? And that's because you want that person in your life too. You're not fixing them. You're not trying to fix anything about them. You're not trying to force them to want to go skydiving too, right? This isn't about getting people to come jump and skydive with you. It's about having those closest to you accept you for loving skydiving. Okay, and I know it's like a super silly analogy, but it actually is very real. Okay, Chase, I see you here, love. I'm going to check in on your comments. People project so much of their own fear towards me about sharks and scuba diving. Yeah, exactly. So they project. Chase scuba dives. I know this. Yes, I am a flying dragon. So that projection, right? They're afraid of drowning and sharks and all of this stuff, but that's not stopping Chase from getting into the ocean, right? And she's probably just not friends with some of the people that don't appreciate the fact that she loves scuba diving anymore, or she just doesn't tell them when she's going scuba diving if they're that like. But that's usually even like a friend that's like, can you please just not, like it scares me so much when you talk about those stories, so I really love you and I want to be your friend, but like will you not share those stories with me? Then that gives Chase an opportunity. Do I want to have friends that want me to pick and choose what parts of my life I share with them? Or can I honor the fact that maybe this friend had had a near death experience and is just totally freaked out, but besides that, love them to death? So, okay, I'm just not going to talk about scuba diving with them, right? That's something else about letting go that I think a lot of us forget, that letting go can always, it can always be bits of it. It doesn't need to be like a permanent forever thing. It can just be, what does each relationship has its own boundaries, right? Relationship A and B is different than relationship A and C. There's a relationship than B and C, and then maybe A, B, and C also have their own relationship, right? Anyway, okay. So let's get into the ritual. I'm gonna pull a card really quick because I've been playing with them and I'm really feeling that we want to kind of focus this in for the reflection. So what do we need to focus in on during this reflection ritual for the group superconscious leaders? Here we go. Yogini of 285 hertz. Okay, I'll have to look this one up. This deck doesn't really show that much or talk about that much. So let's see. Number 14. I always love my ones and fours. Number 14. Changes in your life, including closing doors or missed opportunities, are not going to derail your fulfillment. Realignments are happening based on divine wisdom and timing. You are being diverted from unnecessary obstacles and suffering. Trust in how your life is unfolding. Stay true to your authentic healing journey because it is working. Whether you realize it or not, significant inner healing is taking place. So, really, what this is telling us is, okay, right here. I am I allow for the spiritual intervention of divine grace to recalibrate, realign, heal, and renew me as I am empowered, radiant, and have fully embodied my original spiritual potential and true frequency. So be it. I embrace the healing empowerment of my own authenticity. Okay, so literally everything that I've already been saying, right? So she is telling us that when you're really practicing yoga, like all of the branches of yoga, you get to really you get to just be you, right? What I was saying at the very beginning of this, where you don't need to go looking for the things that are ready to be healed during the full moon because it's going to be what has happened in the last probably couple of days leading up to it, right? The full moon was this morning at 5 a.m. So anything pretty much from Friday at 5 a.m. all the way through anything that happens this Friday at 5 a.m., right? The week leading up, especially with the eclipse, the portal's even bigger. Anything that happens in that chunk of time, that's what needs to be healed. You don't need to go looking for it. Don't need to be like meditate for an hour like what needs to be healed. Oh namo namo, right? It's going to be the conversation you had with your kid about buying something on the internet, right? It's going to be your friend who's freaked out about you scuba diving that you talked to on Sunday morning, right? That's the divine timing, right? You trust that your life is unfolding exactly how it's meant to. Or, like I said, if you set intentions with the new moon and they happened in the last 2 weeks, even ones you weren't expecting, you were like, yeah, maybe one day this would be nice, and fucking bam, it happened. That is the universe saying, honey, that is the path you're supposed to be on. And in the reverse, anything that hasn't happened, or if you didn't set intentions for your new moon and you were just kind of wishy washy, it's the same thing where the universe saying, when you live intentionally, things happen to you intentionally. When you just allow yourself to be an open book of whatever, que sera, sera, whatever will be, then you're going to be timeline shifting like this, right? When you're only ever in your pleasure and nothing else, you're actually a pretty fucking selfish human being because you're not committing to a singular timeline. You're not like when you set an intention, you want to stay in the feeling of that intention until it comes to pass. But if you're like this and you're like all day long switching timelines, then it's a lot harder for the fucking waiter to bring you your order when you keep bouncing around to different tables in the restaurant or going to a different restaurant and then coming back, right? You're not gonna, the timing isn't gonna be there. You're not gonna have the intuitive hit to go do the thing that you need to do to then receive the thing that you desire. This is like where you really start to trust that you are divinity incarnate, so everything's always happening in exact divine timing for you, always at the right place at the right time. But you have a body field that keeps you on course for your intentions. So if you're like, no, I set some intentions for my new moon, are you still in body resonance with it? Are you still actually feeling the way you felt when you set the intentions? Or have you gone all the way over here and now you're like, oh, well, that's why my intention didn't happen? Because in this timeline, I never set that intention. I set that intention in this timeline. This timeline has a certain body feel, right? This is the biggest, biggest thing I teach my clients is the body feel of a timeline because we are multidimensional and we're shifting like mad, and a lot of us are learning about our avatars on other planets too, and we've got to learn how to come back into our body or we're going to supernova and not be able to get back in. So you have to create the body feel of like, okay, what does the timeline feel like where I end up being the president of the United States? Oh, there it is, right? Even me, I had shifted just a little bit into a little bit more manic state and I had to come back. So that's what this card is telling us, right? This card is telling us that you're already on your healing journey and it's time for you to just fucking own it. That you're healing, you are healed. Lots of the stuff that we're going to find in this mirror ritual here in just a second is going to be stuff that you're going to find you're like, no, actually I don't need to deal with that, right? The surface stuff's going to come up first. The old things that you're just like your go-to healing. Oh, I need to heal my trauma. Oh, I got to heal my rape story. I got to heal my inner child. They're going to come up first, and I'm going to invite you to dig a little deeper than that and see what's really ready to be fully released, because the surface stuff has actually, it's like your skin, right? The surface stuff's already dead. The surface stuff's ready to be just like flaked off. This is going to be more like an exfoliation, right? Where we're going to really get deep down into those pores and pull out the things that are ready to truly be released so that you can be lighter and you can be more free and be more available to clear collective consciousness in a way that doesn't like have you laid out or floored or anything like that. Because that's what you're here to do as a light worker. That's what a true light worker is here to do, to work within the light in a way and to go play in the shadows where other people are living. Like they're in the shadows, they don't even realize they're in a shadow. So when you're brave enough to take your light and walk back into the shadows, that means that you're solid in who you are and what you are and how you serve, and you know your worth. Then you're helping move the collective consciousness, which is what we're actually all here to be doing, especially if you're in this group, right? Or if you're watching this replay on YouTube. Okay. So go ahead. I'm going to like scoot you over. Let's see. Because I know as soon as I turn my head away, you can't hear me. So how can I do this? Okay. So, two pen colors, two different colored pens, journal, mirror. Can be a hand mirror if you want. Turn the body. Okay. So as always, I'm going to give you the instructions, and then I'm going to be kind of doing it along with you. We're going to have a little bit of music going. I found a royalty-free music with a giant freaking dragon on it, so you know that's the one that I picked. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing just some mirror gazing. So mirror gazing is just looking at yourself in the mirror, eye gazing at yourself, looking at your body. Since you guys are all in your privacy of your own homes, or if you have space, you could do this naked. I would normally do this practice naked, just Facebook, right? When I teach the naked mirror mantra masterclass, this is a practice that I talk about in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to do just the gazing. We're going to just kind of stay quiet in our own minds. And then after we've done about 5 minutes of gazing, I'm going to give you the prompt, and then you're going to use your two pens. So the two pens, um, just as a quick explanation, you're going to use one color as your conscious mind, and then the other color is going to be whomever it is that you want to be talking to, which is what's going to come up during this, right? We're going to be speaking to an aspect of ourselves. But at first, like I said, we're going to be looking at the mirror. And again, here is the intention of it, is this healing journey of this divine timing. So if you feel like pieces that are like, oh, I want to think about this, see how you can just let some of those go, right? See if there's any way for you to move past some of the surface level things that you know you've been healing for many years, or that you've been working on for a long time, and see what's on the next layer. If you can allow yourself to just, sit here and cry or laugh or get angry or whatever it is, and can you move? And the intention is just like, what's ready to be released, what's ready to be let go, who am I authentically, show me my authentic self, the true self. And it can be kind of hard to do, especially when you're looking in a mirror, which is why we're doing it, because we do hard things, because they lead to good growth. So go ahead and get yourself set up in front of your mirror. Okay. And just eye gazing, body scanning, looking at yourself in the mirror. As much as you can, look at yourself in the eyes and look in the face. But if you have to wander, that's okay. And, you know, your authentic self, like, who are you really, truly? Okay, I want you all to start really allowing that what's ready to be let go to just let go and connect even deeper into who is that true face? Who is the fearlessly authentic one? Can you pull that person into the mirror? And then when you're ready, what you're going to do is you're actually going to start talking to that authentic version of you, your truest self. Not your highest self, your truest self. The one that is living in pleasure and is serving the planet and who is able to have those hard conversations, who is truly sovereign. The authentic divine aspect of you. And again, you're going to use one pen as your conscious mind, as you are right now, to ask the questions. And then you're going to switch and answer the questions with the other colored pen. And we're just going to have a conversation with this most authentic version of us. The questions don't need to make sense. The conversation might jump around a lot. That's totally okay. Just really streamline the conversation. When you feel that the authentic self is done speaking, pick up your pen and write the next question. Even if it doesn't go in any make sense order, just ask it because it's what needs to be asked. Just about 2 more minutes here. I'm actually going to kind of just close it in 2 minutes and then I'll leave you for those of you who want to keep having the discussion. I know sometimes once you open that box, you really need to keep going with it. So in about 2 minutes, we'll kind of formally wrap, but you're welcome to just kind of keep writing after that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just wrap with our saying that we do. Again, feel free to just continue writing. If you need to go back and stare in the mirror some more, you can always use this for anything. Maybe this time it wasn't your authentic self that showed up. Maybe it was your shadow self that really needs that time with you. You can go back and do the same meditation again, and instead of two-pen channeling with your most authentic self, channel with your shadow self. Channel with anybody. This is a beautiful practice you can use for communicating with those on the other side, for speaking to your sub personalities, to your future self, to your inner child self, to your past lives. So it's a great practice. And then the eye gazing, pulling the reflection that you want to see in the mirror up by going through all of the pieces you don't want to see. Very powerful work. So I'll go ahead and I'll read this and we'll let you go. I now release what no longer positively serves me, and I open myself up to receive my highest good. I start anew today, free of the ties that keep me from manifesting the life I desire. Tonight, my soul will make room for all that is to come. I am luminous. I love you. Blessed be.